Welcome to the Asset Mindset Podcast. Today, we have another special guest, Freddie Kim. Freddie, you are quite the individual. You've been in special forces. You're doing a lot of great work with your talent and teaching people and ownership. So I'm super glad to have you on the show today. I think people are really going to get a lot of life knowledge and nuggets, and your experiences you'll be able to share with them. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about your story and who you are and what you're doing?
Sure. Thank you so much. Really glad to be here. I'm Freddie. I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. She's my life. She's my sunshine. And then my wife and I have been married for about 14. Make sure I do the math right on that. Yes, we've been married for about 13 years. So, yeah, and I currently run a business right now called Mill Spec Talent. I own another business in Richmond, Virginia. We sell some cleaning equipment, and then I'm also part of a nonprofit called the Strong Gray Line. I run that with a classmate of mine from West Point. And how I got here, I'm a 2004 West Point grad, and then I served in the 82nd Airborne, deployed a bunch of times over there, and went to First Special Forces Group and deployed a few times over there, and altogether did about 14 years in the service. And I got out in 2013, kind of ran through, struggled through my transition, as a lot of us would say, struggled through just understanding how we fit, where do we serve, what do we do with our lives afterwards. And found that when I was getting my MBA, and I was like, man, this whole world of private equity and talent and leadership, there's a big gap. So I decided to start something there and support that and fill that gap with the talented, amazing leaders I've served with in the service. So Mill Spec Talent's born, and we are now looking to go into government. So we're looking at becoming government contractors, taking advantage of some of my set asides that I have as a service disabled vet, and also a 8A as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Can you go into a little more detail as far as the Mill Spec Talent? Like you said, you noticed a void or a gap. What is it that you're doing? And I guess what was the inspiration for it? Like what'd you see or your calling?
Yeah. So y- when I worked in the corporate world, I worked in service construction services, and then also manufacturing. And I've seen that there's a lot of people that get promoted, right, in the corporate world, that are really good at their jobs, but they don't understand leadership. And if any, they may understand how to manage, right? Manage process, manage things, but not really people. And it's because they're very good at what they were hired to do. But once you get to that point where you have to, rely on your team to be successful, they just don't have that experience. And for military guys, that's all we have, right? We learn leadership from day one, and how to serve, how to lead, and how to leverage a team, how to make us force multipliers, how to delegate, how to ensure that everyone has a nested mission towards the bigger goals. So that kind of mindset I've noticed was missing, and leading with values, which most of us do, being a servant leader as well. So I wanted to just bring that more so into the corporate world, and really just showcase how veterans are super just valuable and useful. And ultimately, I believe that having the right person, right leader in your organization will make your employees happy, which will in turn make their families happy, which will in turn make their communities better, and ultimately society better. Like, it starts with that leader, right? And being able to have just a good effect on its people.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's the ripple effect.
Right.
Absolutely. And I mean, anybody out there, listeners, you've had bosses that you didn't like, or leaders that you didn't like, or you're younger and on a sports team and you had a good captain, or you didn't have a good captain of your football team or basketball team. Like that sets the tone. And I think you're really onto something special with the whole military, because from the very beginning, you're a private on a, fire team or your squad. Like you're learning team. And then, you're a fire team leader, and then you're squad leader, or you're a platoon leader, all these different leadership things. That's right from the beginning. So I think you really are onto a very special niche, or being able to take that military world and cross it over to the civilian world. So I like that a lot. Are you finding that corporations, once they've worked with you, that they're like, wow, okay, we want more of this?
Absolutely. The type of people we connect them to and ultimately place, they're they're leaders that have obviously the very strong foundation of leadership, and they have corporate experience. So we call them veteran 2.0. So we don't really target the transitioning vets, because I fundamentally believe it takes a few years for the transitioning vet to kind of figure themselves out. But upon that, the realization of how they can serve again and contribute to society again, and just understanding I'm actually good at sales, and I can do this for my career. We place them into these higher, levels of leadership, higher levels of management, and they're our candidates are able to kind of talk to the CEO, make presentations and explain and problem solve, and then turn around and roll their sleeves up and go attack the mission, and do solve the problems themselves. So clients are seeing this, companies are seeing this, and the whole veteran 2.0 impact is very strong.
That's great. Great to hear. So, what do you think are the biggest leadership skills that are being brought over into the corporate world? Like, what makes a good leader?
So I I believe that leadership is kind of at all levels. You can be just you need to lead yourself first at the bottom level, right? So you can lead a small team, you can lead a company. So anyone we place, we ensure that we try to make sure that they have the right mindset for the role. But one of the fundamentals is humility, like being able to learn and be coachable, right? And especially transitioning, especially veterans who've served, even though you are a SEAL or a Delta guy, whatever it is, if you're not admitting that you can learn and you can, um, you make mistakes, then that's a fundamental kind of flaw. So relooking that, other great leaders have a great sense of self awareness. Right, they understand what they're good at. They understand what they're not good at. They understand what kind of people they need to surround themselves with. Um, and leaders, I see a lot of veteran leaders at the more senior levels. They have great visions that they communicate effectively, and they know how to build and hire and train teams so that they can accomplish that work. So all of these things are what, for the most part. I mean, if you're not humble when you go through basic, or the beast at West Point, or any kind of selection or anything, that's you're Superman, I guess. But most of us are humbled by these experiences, and we can always relate to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's what they say. A smart person knows they don't know everything. A good leader knows they don't know everything. They know they're always learning and improving. We talk about it in the military. You never stop improving your fighting position.
Hmm.
You always are working on making things better. And I think you're definitely keying into some very good aspects of the military that can be brought over. And I really like how you're tying it into the community, how, that environment gets taken home to the family, into the neighborhoods. Where did that start from? Or did you just kind of observe it and be like, this is what's happening?
Yeah, no, I'm not that smart to figure it out myself. It actually came from, there's a Harvard Business School. He's a professor, Clayton Christensen. He's a pretty admired leadership. He's a guru, right? A management guru. And in one of his books, the title escapes me right now, or an article of his, he talks about, I think, man, what is the title of it? It's, I think, The Meaning of Life, or it escapes me at this moment, which I'm sure it'll come to me. But he talks about like the role of managing and leading people is the most noble like profession, and it's because of this whole ripple effect, right? It's because being that right person, and I'm sure you and I can relate. Just imagine the time when you worked for somebody awesome who cared about you, who wanted you to succeed and also the team to succeed. Then that good day, that those accomplishments, you go home feeling good about yourself. That means you treat your spouse and your kids and your dog and your neighbors well, right? And you're content. You're not like bitter inside. And that in turn affects other people because they received a hello from the neighbor down the street, or apple pie, or whatever it is, right? And it just in turn continues to ripple outward. So, yeah, it was him, Clayton Christensen. It really hit home when I read that the the article that he wrote, or the book, and he was very concise about it. And I was like, you know what, this is exactly what leaders in the military do, and I want to share that with the world. Just the impact of veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Good leaders will do that.
Mm.
And inversely, if you have a bad leader or a bad work environment, that comes home with you. So that's where I talk about in my book, the number two thing: surround yourself with positive people and positive environments. If you're in a negative environment, negative boss, try and fix it. But good news, you're not a tree. You're not stuck where you're at. You're not rooted into wherever you're at. You can make changes. You can go somewhere else. You can go to another place, or you can make things happen. Or maybe, I hate to say it, but you go over their head. There is a chain of command. Well,
Yeah.
there's a hierarchy in
Yeah.
business. And if someone's a bad leader, if you have a good leader above them, they're going to want to know what's happening to their people below. So there is a way to deal with these things. So
Just on that, sorry to interrupt you, but on that, um, as we learn, like everything that we see and observe and experience, you can put in your toolbox, right? I'm sure you heard that, in the
mhm.
military. Make sure you put it in your toolkit, because that's something that you don't want to replicate as you eventually get there. So even those experiences really help you, define yourself and refine yourself. So yeah, they're all everything you can learn from, for sure.
Absolutely. It's life. It's the journey of life, different seasons, different reasons for things, and we're here to grow. And if you're stuck in a comfort zone and you're not pushing yourself
Mm,
out there into the
mm.
world, or trying to make a difference, or learning something, you're not going to grow. And here with the asset mindset, we're all about growing. We're all about serving others, making the world a better place, freeing your mind to be more positive. And I like that you're doing that in your work, Freddie. So I'm going to get a little more personal now with you. So in your life experience, was there ever an example or a time when you go back thinking a memory where you realized your mindset was one of the biggest contributing factors to achieving your goal or overcoming an obstacle or something like that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Many instances where it's all about the mindset. I would say for me, it started in high school, right? Or even in middle school. I had an amazing coach, wrestling coach, and he was he was it's like he was a giant. He's a mountain of a man. And he was just like very powerful, and he coached wrestling, but also taught AP physics. He was like one of those guys, right? He was like a really just brainiac, but also a beast. And Bob Darty, Coach Darty, he always taught us about like working hard. And I remember like leaving the wrestling room with, it's just dripping in sweat, and if like an inch of sweat across the entire mats, and it was gross. But he would always, quote Dan Gable, and Dan Gable is just an iconic wrestler, and he said, once you wrestled, everything in life is easy. He's that kind of guy. So he put us through the ringer, and we worked our asses off. But the mindset going into the practice room before, it's, if you don't have that, you would be done, right? You'd be defeated in first 10 minutes. So he always said, cowards never start, the weak never finish, and winners never quit. And it was those words. It was just it was the constant, um never stop, never give up, give it everything you got. And Coach Darty, he really pounded those words in and just taught us about diligence and never quitting, and relying on one another to lift each other up. So I owe a lot to that man.
And you're still talking about him now,
Yeah,
years later. So
yeah, absolutely.
that's a very powerful thing and very shaping. And I'm glad that you were blessed to have him in your life. So that brings me to another topic. He mentored you. He
Mm.
mentored all the wrestlers and everything. So how important is it to have good mentors?
Oh man, you said it before, Dan, but you are the average of five people you surround yourself with, right? And you interact with most. If you don't see, then you won't. If you don't, yeah, if you don't experience it yourself, you don't learn about it. You don't have somebody pointing it out to you. You'll never learn. And having a mentor, it's kind of, it's easier to do in the military because everyone understands what mentorship is like, and they understand what the given the ask is for someone to mentor you. But in the corporate world, it's more difficult. So I feel like there's a lot that comes from peer mentorship, like learning from your friends, learning from books, learning from podcasts. I mean, there's a lot of mentoring these types of resources can have on you, but it's just refining and challenging you, to challenge the status quo, right? And not just be content. And if you're lucky enough to have a mentor that's able to just give to you, because that's what it is, it's giving you the time and attention. If you're able to have that, then man, soak it up. Soak it up. It's like having Master Yoda or someone like giving you all the secrets, right? You're able to really just become better and think higher and problem solve differently and see things at a different perspective, and then also not make the same mistakes they made. So mentorship, to seek one would be ideal. If not, learn from everything else in the world, right? Learn from your friends, learn from other people who are just getting shit done, and surround yourself with good people.
No, absolutely. And I like how when you were talking about mentorship, that it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. You
Hmm.
talked about a book. You can read
Hmm.
a book. That person that wrote that author, they can be mentoring you throughout the book. They
Exactly.
can, mentor you in a podcast, like you said. So finding a mentor for anybody that's out there and you're thinking like, man, I don't know anybody that can mentor me in what I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to find a physical person. If you can, great. But there's other resources out there. And I love to say nowadays, I'm sorry, people don't have excuses. Whatever it is you want to learn, you can pick up. Where's my
Man.
phone over here? Like I can Google search. There's AI now, videos you can watch on Instagram. If I wanted to take I don't know, an old Mustang apart, I can go search up videos, even though I'm not a mechanic, and I could probably figure it out. I might not be as fast as somebody else that has mechanical experience, but I could do it. So if you're out there listening and you're thinking you're stuck or, oh, I can't get out of that, and I'm sure Freddie, you've seen it too, that I can't mentality. We don't really have that in the military. We have the how do I? Like we have this problem set or this mission. How do I solve it? And that's the mindset that you need out there if you want to make change or accomplish your goal and mission.
Speaking of how do I, just going back, that Clayton Christensen book is how do you measure your life? So how do I, right? How do you measure your life? Um, but on that point, I've seen people that, and lots of vets too, which is very sad. People who think that they can figure it out by themselves, which some people can, right? A very few can. But for most of us, even me, if I sit down and I'm in my own thoughts and in my own dark room or in my own house and I'm like trying to do it myself, I mean, it becomes like this cycle of despair, right? And you don't have new inputs coming into you to challenge what you're thinking and say, hey, you know what? Here's another way of problem solving or just thinking about your situation. So the more you're closed off, I feel like you're just more isolated. It's a recipe for, depression. There's a lot of guys like us that just beat ourselves up quite a bit. And if you're not interacting outside, engaging, talking to people, you have to. That's how you solve a lot of this, and you get sometimes even divine intervention, right, to help you. So, yeah.
Absolutely. You're spot on. And I like the mindset that you're bringing and you're sharing, the leadership, and, talking about the mentorship is so crucial. And I do like when you're talking about if you are isolated, you only know what you know. It's like if you only had one television station, you're only watching your show in your mind.
Mm.
Well, you're not going to learn what's on the History Channel. You're not going to learn what's on these other channels. So it's very important, like you said, to get out there, interact with other people. So, what strengths do you see coming from interacting with other people? Like when you get people that you're working with for your Mill Spec Talent, like what are the strengths that you're seeing change or grow
Strengths that I see change or grow. Um,
with the corporation or the individual? Like when they're getting out there, like kind of getting out of your comfort zone, if that maybe that makes it more clear.
yeah. So I see a lot for people who are able to constantly just evolve and learn and grow. I mean, they have one what you mentioned, just this desire and attitude for continuous improvement, right? Continuously wanting to learn. Leaders are learners, and they always want to just be better. And then I'd say the second thing is they do like hard things. They set hard goals. And
Mm,
there's a lot of candidates and just a lot of great leaders who don't, again, stay comfortable at the status quo. They want to grow, they want to change, they want to push. So I see those traits being quite a few, in a lot of people. It, and they encourage the team to want that too. It's not just themselves. They want the team, and they model the team for the team to follow them and to go on this journey with them. So I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that, and I see. I mean, even in the service too. Even though you are a 18 Bravo or infantryman or whatever, people who are motivated, they have a vision for growth. They have ambition, and people who are constantly um, taking classes, and they're taking, they're going to courses, they're volunteering for things. These are the types that do well, right? They're the ones who excel. So I think those things are important.
that is so true. Now, I want to dive into a little bit different subject when dealing with self talk or maybe negative self talk. So, if someone came to you and they were struggling, we've talked about transition or whatnot, or you said, the veteran 2.0, they're not ready. If somebody was struggling with like an inner dialogue that's I don't know, we can use the military as an example. Like, I used to be somebody, I was a commander or I was in charge and had all this responsibility. Now I'm out in the civilian world and I'm a nobody. The best part of my life, the most meaningful part of my life is over. So they're stuck in this negative loop. How would you help them break that negative dialogue in their head?
So that person was me, right? When I got out the military, I was, served as a Green Beret, and served in multiple combat zones, and we were doing, what I thought was the tip of the spear stuff, except, of course, what Delta and SEAL Team 6, what they do, the tier 1 stuff, we did not do. But as SF guys, we were behind enemy lines, and we were doing our missions. And when I got out, I had this chip on my shoulder. I had thought that I was, you know, one of the, God's gift to corporate world, which is, I was like, hey, I could do anything. I could accomplish anything. And a lot of us have this inflated sense of self. And I was humbled very, very quickly. Well, actually, the first year or so, I was doing well in my corporate world, and I was advancing and promoting and all of that. And then there was a situation that happened a few years later where I was working for a manufacturing company, and and it was a union company, and I did not really. I was going to get my MBA at the same time, and I was fired from them. And my manager pulled me in and was like, "Hey, you're not doing well. You're not showing that you're a good leader. In fact, you're a bad leader." And that really, really impacted me quite a bit, and that started a series of this negative inner thoughts and negative just failure, ideas. And I equated it back to my time at some of my failures in the military, some of my failures previously before, and saying that I can't I can't do better. I'm supposed to be a leader, but I'm sucking. I'm not. I'm an imposter. I'm not good enough. And it really was detrimental to a point where PTSD type, like just failure as a overall was kind of the biggest, I think, hurdle for me. And I did go seek counseling for that. So if you are, I mean, man, if you are in that, and you're a veteran, if you're in that state and you feel depressed, you have nowhere to go, and just you are unable to improve, I mean, seek counseling immediately. Like, go. If VA is not going to accept you, there are plenty of nonprofit organizations that will provide this service for you. There's plenty of organizations like my friend who Jude Black. She has an organization. She's several organizations that she provides free, like, telehealth coaching/therapy for veterans, right, through her nonprofit as well. There's many resources out there. For me, it was my wife who was my rock, like, during those times. And you know how they say, pressure builds diamonds, and pressure builds character. But I don't. To me, it was pressure that revealed character, her character in particular, when I wasn't employed, when I was feeling like a failure, moping around the house, all of this. My wife, I remember she said, "Hey, honey, you do what you got to do. You take some time off. You've been hustling and busting your ass for the past, you know, decade plus, and I want you to figure yourself out and be good to yourself, and go seek counseling and go seek therapy and all of this." And she picked up a full-time job and started working. And she had to. I remember we were in Chicago. She had to drive like 2 hours round trip for the job she got. And she even told me, like, during the commute, she would break down and cry, like, "Why? What do we do? What are we doing right now?" But she never showed that to me, right? She always believed in me and said, "Hey, I got your back." And yeah, so, like, if there are people that know you, that can show you, like, what you're capable of. Sometimes we don't see it, our blind spots as well. And you go seek their perspective. I mean, hear them out. I think to break that cycle, you have to first have a champion, if not yourself, but some other people that can really show that what you're thinking about yourself is not true, right? It's not, you are far more deserving of success and achievement. And oh, by the way, people who are less skilled and less blessed than you are out there crushing it. So why are you putting yourself down? But those people who know you best, people who can stand by your side, and say, "Hey, you know what? This is a blip of your life right now. You're gonna figure it out, and then you're gonna go and continue on your track." If you have an advocate, that's huge, and even that one voice can really make a difference.
No, I believe it. And kudos to your wife, man. You did well, Freddie. You did well. It's great to have a really good partner. I got one now, and it's game changing. It really is. I want to go back because I think you hit on something very important for people that are struggling or in that dark place and dealing with the negative dialogue in their head. You talked how counseling helped you. Can you share one of the things from counseling that really helped awaken you into awareness?
Yeah, so I went to the one that was it provided from the by the VA, and it's CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy. And what the I can't sound super smart on it because I don't recall it exactly, but essentially it's identifying your triggers, like what triggers you to start this spiral, and being really self-aware and journaling and understanding kind of your thought process. And and then it's to kind of reprogram yourself to think differently, right? It's all of man, the asset mindset, Dan. It's the mindset. It's to just change your mindset upon these triggers, upon realizing it and being aware of it. You program yourself differently. So you start small and you journal about it, and it's the awareness piece, right? Understanding. I do a practice in the morning where you just kind of sit down and you just start writing stream of consciousness for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is. You just write to fill up a page, and it could be thoughts you're struggling about, or just random kind of thoughts as well. But typically it comes down, for me, it comes back to like, what am I struggling with? Why am I struggling like that? And just trying to uncover that. So the CBT was huge, and having somebody to, therapy wise, having somebody to guide you through it, it's a very big change. And I mean, it starts with first self admittal, right? Admitting that you need help. And I think all of us do some to a certain extent. We require help, and taking advantage of the ample resources out there in the world, it would make us better. The other thing too is, a big reason I started Mill Spec Talent is because of this veteran suicide epidemic. And I believe that people like us, we are our identities are so hinged on our profession, because we were war fighters back then, Green Berets, whatever, Rangers, SEALs, whatever we were. We're so it's our identity is so hinged on that. When we lose that, and you don't have something else that can satisfy that self purpose again, my belief is that you just start going downward spiral again, and you start beating yourself. You're staying by yourself. You're not asking for help. All of this stuff. So I feel that I finding that sense of purpose afterwards is super critical. And it doesn't have to mean you're a CEO or a C-suite guy or business owner or whatnot. It's finding a place where you can have impact, right? You can contribute, and you can realize self-worth again by contributing. So that's what we do. That was a big impetus as well. Um, because I'm sure you've had many friends. I've had many friends die by suicide, which is traumatic, which is unacceptable, right? And
Yeah.
how do I help them? I guess at least championing that veterans are desirable. You are required, and then you can also have an impact that's as, satisfying as protecting our nation. It's by just adding value and supporting the guys around you, or your team, your small team, or your small group of employees, which is just as strong.
No, I think you're exactly right. Purpose is so important. When you're in the military, you sign up, especially our military, all volunteer. You are someone that is a servant. You're going to serve. What capacity you serve, that depends. Do you volunteer again for airborne school? Do you volunteer to go to selection or whatnot? But if anybody's in the military, you have a servant heart, whether you realize it or not, because you're going there and you're serving and you have a purpose. Now, when you get out, now you kind of lose that purpose. You had your commander's intent or whatever mission, or you were told, hey, this is our goal, this is our mission, this is what we're doing. You don't have that. When you get out now, you transitioned, you're like, ooh, you have to be your own commander. You need to come up with your own mission statement or find your purpose, like you're saying. And I love that you're helping people find their purpose. I think that's very, very important, because if you don't have a purpose, then that's where that negative dialogue can really creep in. And I love how you talked about journaling. Journaling is a great thing. Being aware, having the situational awareness of triggers is so important. And I'm going to share something with you and the listeners. And if you've listened to the Asset Mindset podcast before, you've probably heard this, but I think it's really a great thing. People notice triggers all the time, sets them off, negativity. Start looking for glimmers, the good things, something to be grateful for. Wow, that person brought me a coffee in today. Or, oh, look at that person, let me go, at the stop sign. They said, oh, go ahead. There's glimmers, your daughter's smile, a pet comes running in the door and, greets you when you get home. There are good things around you. Just like there's triggers around you, there's a lot of good stuff too. So if you can change your awareness, that can change your mindset. And it's so important. And I want to thank you for sharing, your story, Freddie, as far as, what you've had to go through. And I think it's important for people to realize, even successful people like yourself. I mean, you look at your career, what you've done, what you are doing now. We all struggle. It's part of being a human being. So you're not alone. And if you need help, reach out. And I'm sure if you're curious about what Freddie has going on in Mill Spec Talent, please pause, go in the description. You can find links. You can connect with him. You want to connect with me, the Asset Mindset, that information's in there too. And of course, follow, like, subscribe, and definitely share this episode with someone that you think needs to hear it. So Freddie, I want to now shift gears. What would you tell the young Freddie that's getting ready to graduate high school now? Like, what would you give for advice?
Don't be stupid.
That's too easy, too easy. You can't just have that. But you're right.
And don't drink too much. Yeah, there's a bunch. I so this is actually something I've been kind of I've been thinking about. I came from an immigrant family. My dad was hardworking. I mean, we had no money. He was a minister for a long time. He was a Protestant minister for a while, and we just my brought family from Korea, and I grew up kind of like that, right? I grew up not having much, but what was kind of embedded to me was this sense of responsibility and purpose, and just owning things, being the firstborn. So my dad was the firstborn, I was the firstborn. He was like, hey, the family looks to you type kind of mentality. Um so I had that in the beginning, and we were also very aspirational. I mean, immigrants, right? You're like, hey, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or just like be a professor somewhere. I'm not knowing that professors don't make much, but yeah, it was like one of those types, very aspirational and very just you have to be one of the best of the best. I would tell myself, hey, it's okay, man. Slow down. Slow down. Even though you have those aspirational goals, even though you may want to change the world, I mean, you can enjoy yourself now. Life is so short. that if you just are running by everything, then it's a shame, right? There's so much beauty and gratitude and grace in the world. You need to slow down to enjoy yourself now. It doesn't have to be, always on the glide path for whatever the next thing is. If I look back at myself, then I say I was wired like that from the very beginning, high school, getting really good grades and doing sports and doing all these things and going to West Point, and I was a boxing champion over at West Point for that, and always excelling, advancing, and then wanting to go join, become a ranger and go to special forces. I always had this career glide path, and then after I got out, like, hey, I'm going to be the a president of a company and see, hey, you can stop, right? You can enjoy yourself instead of just going through it all, and you can just, yeah, learn from the moment, and just give yourself some relaxation, and just, give yourself a little bit of grace so that you can then recharge for the next step. So, and it doesn't always have to be on that same path, it doesn't always have to be on that path. You can kind of do other things and go travel the world a little bit, or go and be a beach bum if you want for a little bit, but then just you can, give yourself ample opportunity to enjoy what you have, the one life you're given.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And I envisioned, like, life's like a marathon. You can't sprint the whole way.
Hmm.
You're going to burn out, you're going to miss things. Get a nice jog, keep moving forward as long as you're moving,
As long as you're
but
moving.
enjoy the journey.
Mm.
If you're running down this mountain, beautiful mountain trail, but you never decide to look left, look right, and see the views, all you're going to see is the dirt and rocks in front of you. You're looking at your feet where you're going next. So I think that is good advice, because I think a lot of people, especially in our society right now, the Americans trying to get ahead, work, 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 work. And we lose that enjoy the ride. Or the old saying, stop and smell the flowers every
Hmm.
once in a while. That doesn't mean lay in the field of flowers forever and don't do anything. But, you got to stop and enjoy it, because guys like us, we know, and a lot of people know, but in the military, there's a higher percentage of people know how precious life is and how quick it can end. When you've seen death or lost people at young ages, or, one thing goes wrong and then poof, that person's not here anymore. So I think we appreciate life a little differently. Not that others don't, but if you've always just, you know, grew up sheltered in a comfort zone, and you're just, working, you're not going to appreciate, your journey as much. So definitely, I think that's great advice for a younger version. I would probably say something like that to myself too. Although I would probably also say, don't drink as much like you did. Those college days,
Yep.
those fraternity parties, God bless my frat brothers.
Yeah.
They were awesome memories, but we definitely had some nights we probably shouldn't have drank so much.
Yeah.
That's part of the learning process, I guess.
Agreed. It is.
So this has been great, Freddie. And all you listeners out there, remember, don't forget to pause, like and subscribe, and go underneath and look and see the description. And you can reach out to Freddie and find out more about him, reach out to him and what he's going on. If you're a veteran and you're trying to transition, he might be able to help you. So before we go, I would like you to share something that you want the audience, like a summary or, the frosting on the cake from Freddie Kim, that the Asset Mindset listeners can walk away with.
Yeah, I guess on the same path of everything we've talked about, I believe that every single thing that's happened to you in your life is preparing you for a moment that has yet to come. So, to actually just learn and to enjoy and to appreciate what you're going through, I think is profound. And not just trying to make sense of it always in the back, and trying to connecting the dots always in the back, but having faith that it's for the greater purpose. um, I kind of felt like when I transitioned and I was going through Mill Spec and starting off as a small business owner, entrepreneur. In the beginning, things weren't working out, right? And I was very tough on myself. And it was, I was like, hey, I've always been a high achiever. Why can't I do this now? And that was a recipe for just self um, beating oneself up. It's you're never good enough. You're never again that negative talk inside. So if you're comparing yourself to always like what you've done, I think just having that faith and understanding that good things, where there's a will, there's a way, and you're able to provide, and you're able to make that future for yourself, and it will come together. Having that faith, I think, is a fundamental belief one should have.
I think that's great. Yeah, it's like planting a seed in the ground. You're not going to have instant fruit. You're not going to bear fruit right away. But you have faith that if you plant the seed, you water it, it's in good soil, it gets sunlight. In time, it will grow, it'll get bigger, and it'll flower, and it'll bear fruit. So I think that is great advice for all the listeners out there. Again, thank you listening to the Asset Mindset Podcast, liking, subscribing, and sharing this with others that need to hear about it. And definitely, most of all, do not forget, own your power.